So you're wondering, when do I know if my hair is thinning, or how can I tell if my hair is thinning? That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. This is Dwella Moten Nelson, your healthy scalp specialist. So you're wondering, can I lose my hair really young? Most people lose their hair later in life? Well, honestly, most people start to see thinning in their hair between the age of 25 and 40. To me, that's pretty young, but I feel that you probably should take a look at your own hair and make sure that you're following how your hair is looking. And if it's looking thin, don't wait. If you see some thinning, or you see more hairs in the sink than you normally do, or you see that you can see more of your scalp than you normally see, it's probably a sign that you're having some thinning. So don't be afraid, don't be alarmed. It happens to the best of us. Most people do have some type of thinning over the span of their lifetime, even if it's just the edges or the nape of the neck or the crown of the head. Most people do experience some type of thinning. The most important thing is that you pay attention to it and you do something right away. So let's talk about first, why would your hair thin in the first place? The number one reason that your hair could potentially be shedding is genetics. If you look at your mom and your dad and they have pretty thin hair and they're in their 60s or 70s, it's very possible that you may also experience that later in life. But one thing you can do, and people don't really talk about this, you want to keep your hair as healthy as it is now, so that when you get to that age, you may not experience the level of shedding and the level of thinning that they will experience if you start protecting your hair early. It's just like skincare. People will ask, hey, oh my gosh, you look really young for your age, and what do you use? But I started caring for my skin in my 20s. And so now my skin looks really great because I cared for it. I started caring for it really early. So the same is true with your hair. If you start to care for your scalp, the most important thing is your scalp. We cut our hair and we do so many things with our hair. Our hair is actually dead. It doesn't have any nutrients on the hair other than the scalp and the follicle and the bulb. But your hair itself, you can do so many different things to your hair because your hair is actually dead. But your scalp is living. Your scalp has blood supply. Your scalp needs nutrients. So it's important that you start to treat your scalp and give your scalp kind of what it needs over time. So one thing you want to do is start to treat your scalp early. You don't want to wait until you start to see that thinning before you start treating your scalp. I know you have questions about your hair growth, how to grow your hair in, what you should be doing. You may be a little bit nervous about asking a question. But I really, really want to hear from you because I want to help you. I want to help you to grow your hair in, to get your hair as healthy as possible. Please leave me messages below or comments below so that I can answer your questions. I'm here to help. There are lots of natural sprays and vitamins, skin, hair, and nail vitamins that you can take to kind of give your scalp what it needs now when you're young, so that when you're older, you may not experience the same level of hair loss that maybe your parents have gotten. The first thing we mentioned that could be a cause of hair loss is genetics. The second thing, it could be hormonal. So over time, your hormone level changes. And one thing in particular, testosterone. We know that there is a DHT, which is a chemical we'll link down below. But DHT is basically a derivative of a chemical that's created from testosterone. And what it does is it attaches to the scalp and to the receptors on the scalp that are supposed to be taking in nutrients and blood flow and all the good stuff that you need to make your hair grow. It blocks that. Once it blocks that, your hair strands become thinner and thinner and thinner because they're being starved from nutrients. So if you are of a certain age, say between 40 and 45, your testosterone level can definitely have an effect on your hair growth and how healthy your scalp is and how thick your hair is. The same with women. When we get to a certain age, our estrogen levels are different. And so with that, our hair growth and our hair thickness is also going to change over time. So hormones can be a second reason that you may see thinning in your hair. Third reason that you may see thinning is stress. As you get older, I remember being a kid and not having a lot of things that I was stressed about. But then now as an adult, you have your children, you have your husband, you have your job, if you have businesses, you have responsibilities, you have your own care, you have care of your parents. There's so many things that we consider and that we take care of, both male and female. So the stress factor as an adult can be so high. And when you're stressed, your body really responds, sometimes by shutting down, sometimes by not giving nutrients that it needs, sometimes by having inflammation. So all of those things can lead to hair loss. So that's number 3, your stress level. The last thing we'll talk about is how healthy are your habits, your eating habits? Do you exercise? Do you massage your scalp? Like, what are your lifestyle? Like, how are you in your lifestyle? What are you doing to keep your scalp and body as healthy as possible? So those are the 4 things that you can kind of look at and say, you know, maybe this is why my hair might be thinning, or that's why my hair might be thinning. It's always good to know why your hair is thinning, no matter what age you are. The first question is, why in the world is my hair thinning? The second question is, what can I do about it? So with that in mind, you want to make sure that if you're starting to see thinning, that you do something about it right away. Don't wait for, oh, I'm going to wait for another 6 months, because the longer you wait, the more your scalp will start to go into a dormant type of state where it starts to produce less hair. You start to see more hair loss. Hair loss just doesn't reverse normally without you doing anything. So thinking that it's going to resolve itself is probably not the best case. Think George Jefferson. I'm sure at some point he thought, you know what, I should do something about my hair. And maybe at that time in the 70s, they didn't have very much that was available. But once your hair goes to that level where you have like a U-shaped empty spot on the top of your scalp, or for women, if you're starting to see more of your hairline is receding or your edges are coming out, the longer your hair stays in that state, the more difficult it is to bring your hair back and get it healthy. So as soon as you start to notice that your hair is thinning or you're seeing bald spots, do something about it immediately. So that's the second thing we want to say. What can we do? Treat it immediately. Find help immediately. Try to talk to someone about your hair and scalp immediately. If you have a scalp condition, because there are some things like can have inflammation on the scalp, you can have large flakes, you can have psoriasis, you can have dermatitis, you can have alopecia. There's a bunch of different medical conditions that can happen to the scalp that will cause you also to lose hair. And when you think that that might be what's going on, make sure that you, first of all, talk to a dermatologist. They're fantastic with giving you a diagnosis, letting you know exactly what's happening with your scalp. So go and see a dermatologist. And if the dermatologist is going to give you an idea of what you can do to bring your hair back, you also can see a trichologist or a hair and scalp practitioners. Those people are specifically trained to tell you what is going on with your scalp with inflammation and things like that as well. So, you know, just talking with someone who has the knowledge, who has the experience, who can potentially help you to get your scalp as healthy as possible. Do it as soon as possible. As soon as you see any thinning, that's when you should try to reach out and find someone that can help you. The third thing I'll talk about is, are there ways that we can slow down hair loss? Can we stop that process? Can we slow it down? Well, one of the things I mentioned before was starting early. If you start to treat your hair and keep it as healthy as possible when you're young, your nutrients in your scalp and your circulation, if you keep that nice and strong and great when you're younger, when you get older, you'll reap the benefits of that. The other couple things that I'll mention are, you can take a supplement. I mentioned that as well. A skin, hair, and nail vitamin, or a vitamin that has biotin in it. Those things are going to be really helpful to keep your hair healthy and growing. The other thing is your diet and nutrition. We talked about that as well. Eating the proper foods, great. One of the best things you can have to keep your skin and your hair healthy is fresh fruits and vegetables. Some people go months and months and months and don't have anything fresh. So if possible, try to eat a couple of fresh fruits and vegetables a day. If you can't do it a day, 1 apple a day with the skin and everything. It's fantastic for your whole body. So if you can try to do that and incorporate those things into your diet, that will be really helpful. The last thing is exercise. Your body needs to perspire. Your body needs to sweat. Those pores need to be able to get rid of toxins. So if you're not doing anything for weeks on end and you're not able to sweat, it's really not that great for your body. So if possible, try to incorporate something that's going to allow you to sweat, whether it's you're taking a walk around the neighborhood, or some people like to sit in saunas. I would be careful about that, because if you have any kind of heart conditions or blood pressure or anything like that want to be super, super careful about using a sauna, because the temperatures are very high. So you want to always consult your primary physician and ask them if using a sauna is going to be ideal for you. But it will also help you to sweat. You can ride a bike. Even though you're in a pool when you're exercising, if you really got a good exercise in, you still would sweat afterwards. So sweating is super important. And then the other thing I'll say, like I mentioned before, making sure you're gentle with your hair. If you notice your hair is already kind of thinning a little bit, don't go in and do a big scrub brush and scrub your hair, because those hairs that are there, they may just be kind of lodged in and not really, they might be in a growth cycle where they're at the end of the growth cycle, but they're not quite ready to come out of your hair or be shedded yet. But when you start to be very rough and vigorous with your massages or brushing your hair, you can easily dislodge those hairs from the scalp, and then the next hairs that come up are going to be little small baby hairs, which is not going to give you the same coverage as a thicker hair that's grown for a while. So be gentle when you're massaging, be gentle when you're shampooing your hair. I know it feels good to get a good scrub, but if your hair is already thinning, be gentle, because you can easily cause yourself to have more thinning than you would if you're being gentle with your hair. So those are my tips for today. I hope that these are all helpful for you to maintain a healthy, thick, growing head of hair, and also keeping your scalp as healthy as possible. Thank you. This is Dr. Dwella Mote Nelson, your healthy scalp specialist.